Have you ever wondered what happens when you press in the clutch pedal in your manual transmission car? Do you know how a clutch works? Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm going to explain to you the process of what happens when you press in the clutch pedal in your manual transmission car. First, I will tell you the purpose of a clutch pedal in a manual transmission car. Unlike in an automatic car that just has two pedals, the accelerator pedal and the brake pedal, a manual car has three pedals: the accelerator pedal, the brake pedal, and the clutch pedal. The clutch pedal in a manual transmission car is used to disconnect the power flow from the engine to the transmission so that the driver can get the car into gear and shift the gears. I have part of a clutch assembly here for you, and I will go through everything and explain what they are for and where it is located. The clutch assembly is located in between the engine and the transmission. The clutch assembly consists of many parts. To start, I have a flywheel. The flywheel is bolted directly to the crankshaft of the engine to help transmit the power to the clutch disc. The next part is the clutch disc. The clutch disc is a disc that is made up of high friction material, so when a clamping force is applied, it will create a solid connection to the flywheel. The clutch disc is connected to the splines of the transmission input shaft and sandwiched in between the flywheel and the pressure plate. The pressure plate is a plate that uses a diaphragm spring to engage or disengage the clutch and is connected to the flywheel. Next is the throw-up bearing. The throw-up bearing is a bearing that rides up against the splines of the pressure plate, so when the driver presses in the clutch, the splines of the pressure plate can be evenly pushed down. The throw-up bearing is locked into place by the clutch fork. The clutch fork is a connection from the slave cylinder to the throw-up bearing and has a pivot point in between the slave cylinder and the throw-up bearing. The slave cylinder is a hydraulic cylinder that is connected to the clutch fork so that it can allow the clutch fork to pivot once the clutch pedal is depressed. Last thing is the master cylinder. The master cylinder is the most important part because it creates the pressure in the hydraulic system, so when the clutch pedal is pressed, the slave cylinder can extend to pivot the clutch fork. Now that I have explained to you the parts of the clutch assembly, I will now tell you how they work in relation to when you press in the clutch pedal in your manual transmission car. When you press in the clutch pedal, the master cylinder is pressurizing the hydraulic system and will start to extend the arm on the slave cylinder. When the arm on the slave cylinder is extending, it will start to pivot the clutch fork. When the clutch fork pivots, the throw-up bearing is putting pressure on the diaphragm splines of the pressure plate, releasing the clutch disc, disconnecting it from the engine so that there is no power going to the transmission. Once this process has happened, the clutch pedal is fully depressed. This will allow you to put the car into gear while your car is stopped or shift gears while your car is moving. Once your car is in gear, you can start letting out the clutch. The car will start to move. You must let the clutch out slowly because the transmission is now connected to your wheels, which are not moving, and will be connecting to the engine, which is spinning over very quickly. If you let the clutch out fast, you will stall your engine. Once you start letting off the clutch slowly, the pressure plate will engage the clutch disc, and the clutch disc will begin to slip up to speed so that the clutch can match the speed of the engine. While letting out the clutch pedal, the driver needs to begin pressing the accelerator pedal slowly for a smooth but quick acceleration. Once the clutch disc has sped up to the engine speed, you can fully let out the clutch pedal and accelerate your car up to speed. After you get your car moving, you will need to shift gears. The process of shifting gears is like starting the car from a stop, but much easier. Once you have the car going, in order to shift, you must let your foot off the accelerator pedal while pressing the clutch pedal, then change into the desired gear, then start letting off the clutch pedal while easing back into the accelerator pedal. So this is the clutch pedal. And this is where the master cylinder is located. These are the hydraulic lines. This is the slave cylinder, and this is the clutch fork, and then this is what I had right here. This is the clutch assembly. So when you press in this clutch, the master cylinder will be extending a piston inside of there, forcing fluid down and extending the arm of the slave cylinder out so this clutch fork can pivot, pushing in the throw-up bearing. So when I first started to learn how to drive a manual car, it would have made it a lot easier if I knew how a clutch worked. Understanding the process of a clutch can make it easier to learn how to drive a manual car. Once you learn how to use a clutch, it becomes secondhand nature to you, and you will be able to move a car from a stop and shift smoothly without thinking about it. In conclusion, there are many parts to a clutch assembly that work together to make a car move. Pressing the clutch, and each part has its own purpose to make the process of a clutch work. Pressure, pivoting, and releasing of parts that are working together to help a clutch do its job.